President Trump is expected to address the shootings this morning in a statement. I'm Laura Podesta with how Democratic presidential candidates are pointing the finger at the president for promoting violence against minorities.
And the newest U.S. Navy warship is named after Montana's largest city. Coming up, see what the commissioning of the USS Billings was like this weekend. Good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. I'm Missy O'Malley. Our own Chet Lehman is on weather today. Matt Elwell is off. Now, after two mass shootings this weekend, claiming a total of 29 lives and leaving dozens of others injured, President Trump called the shooters mentally ill and denounced those attacks. But some Democratic presidential candidates are pointing the finger at the president. CBS's Laura Podesta has more.
As he returned to the White House Sunday, President Trump expressed his solidarity with El Paso and Dayton, condemning what he called senseless attacks.
I just want to say that these are two incredible places. We love the people. Hate has no place in our country.
But many of his 2020 rivals laid the blame squarely at the president's feet, even labeling him a white nationalist.
The president not only tolerates but invites the kind of racism and hatred that not only offends us but changes who we are as a country.
Julian Castro, the sole Latino candidate in the Democratic race, accused the president of inciting violence through his rhetoric.
He's given license for this toxic brew of white supremacy to fester more and more in this country.
The White House offered a vigorous defense.
The president is just as saddened by this as you are. The president is just as angry by this as you are and wants to do something about it just as much as everybody else does.
Texas Republican Will Hurd wants to see the president help the country grieve.
I think he's denounced these attacks. He has an opportunity to be the uniter in chief, and I hope that's the way to go.
With lawmakers out on August recess, some are demanding that Congress return immediately to take up gun legislation. Laura Podesta, CBS News.
Now, President Trump is expected to speak at the White House later this morning on those mass shootings. And Montana's elected officials are also responding to the shootings over the weekend. Senator Steve Daines commented on social media. On Facebook, he said he and his wife were sending their condolences to the families in El Paso. He wrote, "We are grateful for the bravery of so many, including law enforcement and other first responders who cared for those victims." Senator Jon Tester said he's devastated for the families and adds that the shootings are becoming too far common. They have no place in civilized society. He also demands action by saying Senator Mitch McConnell should call the Senate back to session to address bipartisan background check legislation that would help keep guns out of the hands of court-adjudicated mentally ill criminals and terrorists. Representative Greg Gianforte also commented, saying, "Susan and I pray for the victims and their loved ones, and we will hold those communities of El Paso and Dayton close to our hearts." Law enforcement officials acted swiftly and heroically to end those cowardly acts of domestic terrorism. And Governor Steve Bullock also commented on the shootings, both on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, he wrote, "Two mass shootings in the last 24 hours. We cannot accept that this is the nation that we will pass down to our kids." On Twitter, he wrote, "Not even 24 hours after El Paso, we wake up to more bloodshed in Dayton. I'm heartbroken for both communities and for our country. The complexity of the problems underlining this gun violence epidemic cannot serve as an excuse for inaction." So we'll see if anything gets done on this, Chet.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm incredibly frustrated this morning. Chet joins me now, and at least we have a beautiful weather forecast.
Yes, we do, and it's beautiful outside right now. The sun coming up, and it's absolutely setting up to be a beautiful Monday, and I think we all deserve a beautiful Monday. Temperatures in the mid to upper 50s for the most part. West Yellowstone at 43 right now. A really nice kind of day in store for us for the most part. As you take a look at it, you see temperatures only into the upper 80s. We should be in the low 90s, so a little below average. Lots of sunshine. I would suggest get outside, have a picnic lunch, and then have dinner out on the deck. As far as Butte goes, mid-80s for today. Lots of sunshine, a little breezy as we get into the evening hours, but all in all, a really nice Monday. What does that hold for the rest of the week? Detailed forecast, Missy, in 10 minutes.
Thank you for that, Chet. Our top story for you now, the USS Billings is officially manned and ready for duty. Commissioning ceremonies were held on Saturday morning in Key West, Florida for the Navy's newest warship, a day that has been a long time coming. MTN's Russ Riesinger made the 2,000-plus mile trip to Key West to cover this historic event.
We are here today to celebrate the commissioning of the first ship to bear the name of the largest city in Montana.
And with that, the hour-long ceremony that members of the Billings Commissioning Committee have spent the past 2 years getting ready for got underway. Billings Mayor Bill Cole was one of the first to take the podium.
The citizens of Billings and the state of Montana will always be proud to call this ship their own. And I hope the men and women of the ship will always be proud to serve on a vessel that bears our city's name. To the crew, know that wherever you sail, the people of Billings will always be with you, and the big sky will always be over you.
Many of the nation's top brass made the trip to Key West for the commissioning of the littoral combat ship.
It's an exciting time for your Navy,
including Assistant Secretary of the Navy James Gertz, who introduced the keynote speaker, U.S. Senator John Tester, who, along with many Montana veterans groups, pushed hard for a ship to be named after Billings.
It will represent the city of Billings, our state of Montana, and this nation proudly by defending the waters around us. At a time of new global threats and complex challenges, this ship's motto, "Big Sky Over Troubled Water," is fitting. It will be critical to the support of our men and women in uniform to keep our world safe and to keep America safe.
It can fight and win in any environment. It's a lethal ship. The real lethality is that crew that you saw. They're strong, they're tough, they're smart, they're diverse, they represent all of us. This ship will sail all around the world, maybe right here in our neighborhood of the Caribbean or the Eastern Pacific, counter-narcotics missions, or could be in the Strait of Hormuz, protecting tankers against an Iranian threat.
Secretary Gertz, I will be honored if you would place Billings in commission.
on behalf of the Secretary of the Navy and for the President of the United States, I hereby place the United States ship Billings in commission. May God bless and guide this warship and all who shall sail in her. Congratulations, Captain.
Thank you.
After that, more Navy tradition, the hoisting of the colors and pennant.
Quartermaster, hoist the colors and the commission pennant.
Aye, sir!
Then it was time to man the ship and bring it to life. Sponsor Charlotte Tester broke with tradition by asking the families of the sailors to join her.
Officers and crew, USS Billings, man our ship and bring her to life. There we go! Woo!
And with that, it was official. The USS Billings is manned and ready to serve our country.
This exceeded every expectation I possibly could have had. This was just overwhelming.
It was well worth the effort and the time, and we should all be very proud of these men and women that protect us.
It's a beautiful day, it's a great ship, and we got something for Billings that I can't believe I would see once in a lifetime event.
This is like the 4th of July for Montana. For me, you know, it's just fantastic.
We have a marriage with this ship for the next 25 or 30 years while it's at sea, so it's not over with for us. The city of Billings will still have a connection with the ship for a long time, and we're going to keep working to make the sailors and their families support them, make them happy, do everything we can.
In Key West, Florida, I'm Russ Riesinger reporting for MTN News.
Wow, what a fun celebration that was. Now let's come back here to the Treasure State. Annette McLean has been with the Winston Rod Company for more than 30 years. And in this week, Under the Big Sky, she takes us through the rich history of this Montana fly rod maker.
Under the Big Sky is sponsored by Rocky Mountain Vein Clinic and Markovich Real Estate.
Whether you fish another brand name rod or not, anglers know the name of Winston. Winston is held very high in the world of fly fishing. It always has been. In 1929, Lou Stoner and Robert Winther started the company in San Francisco. R.L. Winston is a contraction of Robert and Lou, Winther and Stoner. One of Lou Stoner's great contributing gifts to the company was his realization that if you take the useless material out of the inside of a bamboo strip, then you allow the natural fibers more freedom to be more efficient. That was a game changer. We have in our museum the rod that broke the world casting record at that time of over 600 feet. So that put the company on the map. In the early 70s, Tom Morgan, he purchased the company and took on a business partner, Glenn Brackett. Glenn then helped Tom move the company up to Twin Bridges. These two gentlemen worked together as business partners until the very early 1990s, and David Ondaatje came on the scene. David is the current owner of the company. He's the longest standing sole proprietor of the company. There are other rod manufacturers out there who produce many, many more rods a year than Winston does. And they're fine fly rods. But the mystique of the Winston brand can't be measured. It has such a rich, long-lasting heritage and tradition.
So beautiful. Now, of course, you can check out all of our stories for Under the Big Sky on our websites. It is time for a quick break.